Gabriella, my Gizu, my sweet daughter, forgive me for the distance, for all the moments of loneliness the two of us, or rather the three of us, have endured.
She texted me before she left her parents' house. Just setting off. We'll see you on the other side. Love you.
Forgive me for all the nights I was not by your side to hold your warm little hand as you fall asleep.
My cell phone rang at 5:30 a.m. My brother-in-law called saying Nazanin and Gabriella had missed their flight over a passport glitch, but it'll be sorted out in a couple of hours. I thought, oh, fine. I went back to sleep.
Forgive me for all the moments you missed the bosom of your mother, for those teething fever nights I was not there for you. Forgive me.
You know, what I should have done at that point was gone public the moment she'd been taken. If I'd have just gone ballistic, chances are she would have been out in a couple of days.
That moment of farewell to your father at Gatwick, that cold day of reluctant spring when you sweetly gave him a hug and a kiss on the cheek. How could I even imagine destiny would strike us separate so long?
There'd been a security agent waiting at the check-in counter desks of Turkish Airlines who asked Nazanin to follow him to a room. He confiscated her travel documents, wanted to know where she worked.
Had I known, I would never have hurried to pack our suitcases for that 2-week trip to Tehran.
The security agent then escorted Nazanin and Gabriella to the departure lounge where her parents waited. He ordered Nazanin to hand Gabriella to her mother, and then led Nazanin away.
One day, I will tell you the story of all these lonely days, a story of pain and separation.
The idea that I hadn't been able to protect them, it broke me.
On April 3rd, 2016, Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe and her 1-year-old daughter Gabriella Ratcliffe were taken at Tehran International Airport. Nazanin has not been seen since.
What is your name?
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
Why are you here?
To visit my family.
Who do you work for?
Thomson Reuters Foundation.
What is your name?
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
Why are you here?
To visit my family.
Who do you work for?
The Thomson Reuters Foundation.
What is your name?
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
Why are you here?
To visit my family.
Who do you work for?
Where's my daughter?
What is your name?
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
Why are you here?
To visit my family.
Who do you work for?
The Thomson Reuters Foundation.
What is your name?
Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
Why are you here?
To visit my family.
Who do you work for?
What have you done with my daughter?
You're on your own. You're blindfolded. There's people behind you interrogating you.
Why are you here?
What's your name?
Who do you work for?
The most powerful people you will never see. You will hear, but you will never see.
Why are you here?
What's your name?
Who do you work for?
She was kept in solitary confinement, being interrogated like that for 45 days.
Did you, or did you not, train and recruit spies?
Under Iranian law, the police can hold you for 24 hours, no longer. After that, they have to charge you. After 24 hours, we hadn't heard anything. So my father-in-law decided to go to the airport to look for her and spent maybe 2 hours asking everyone in the airport. But nobody would say anything. They were terrified. It was more than their job's worth to acknowledge anything. She had disappeared. 2 days later, we received the call. The Revolutionary Guards had taken her, but she was alive. 4 days after that, 4 days of complete silence, we are told Nazanin is to be released. She will be released later that day. Instead, she disappeared again.
Nazanin Ratcliffe was transferred to an unknown location 1,000 kilometres south of Tehran. Her husband Richard went public on her imprisonment against the advice of the British government.
We have been providing support to Mrs. Zaghari-Ratcliffe's family since we were first informed of her arrest and will continue to do so.
I was advised by British diplomats not to publish Nazanin's detention in order to maximise the chances of the situation being resolved quietly. The advice was to go subtly, allow them to do their work behind the scenes. When I told the Foreign Office that I was to go public, they said,
"It's your decision, but we don't recommend it. Nazanin Zaghari has been imprisoned for 37 days and held in solitary confinement."
if I'd have been more alert to it, things like closing her Facebook down, these were things I could have and should have done immediately, or at least within the first month. But after a month, it's too late, really. After 2 weeks, it's too late, as someone helpfully told me down the line. Hello?
Richard?
Nazanin, are you okay? Where are you?
I'm okay. Oh, it's so good to hear your voice.
What's going on? Have you heard anything?
No, please. Richard, we can't discuss that. You just tell me how you are, what you've been doing.
I've asked people to send cards to Gabriella for her birthday, so she has things to open.
I saw Gabriella.
I know. I heard. Are you okay now?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm allowed to walk in the morning. I can shower now, though my skin looks gross. Body cream would do wonders. Hey, but we got fruit last week. Hadn't realised how much I'd missed watermelon.
Your father. Your father said you couldn't stand. He said they had to lift Gabriella onto your lap while you sat.
Yeah, but I'm getting stronger now, and I will be out in time for her birthday so that we can open her cards together.
Of course.
So, who's sending cards? Maybe we should get them to send them home instead.
Of course, I'll update your story to let people know.
What story?
Well, when we went public, I started a blog.
You did what? Richard, please, you really have to be careful, because if they find... No!
Naz! It turned out, for punishment of my petitioning, campaigning, and interviewing, Nazanin was banned from calling me. But I knew she had hope. She was praying to be out for Gabriella's birthday. I was praying for her to be out for Gabriella's birthday. For them to be home, with me, safe.
Nazanin Zaghari, you're being released without charge. I'm here to take you to phone your family.
Oh, thank you.
Hello? Speaking. You're joking. This is amazing. Are you collecting her? Okay, let me know as soon as you get her. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mum, Naz's father just called. He said she's being released. No charges. I know. No, I don't know anything else. I'll let you know as soon as I hear. Can you tell the others? I love you. Bye. Hello? Yes, it is. What? What do you... Oh, no, I haven't been missold PPI. Look, could you just take me off your list? No, honestly, I promise you. Look, I don't really give a damn now. Could you just take me off your list? I don't care.
Richard!
Go away!
Richard, Gabriella!
I said bugger off! Hello. Is she with you? What? What are you talking about? But you said she was being released. Well, where is she? Well, she can't have just disappeared. Where's Nazanin? My sister Rebecca and I would like to thank you all for coming. It's been really tough on everyone, but Nazanin wanted Gabriella's birthday to be special, even if we can't be with her. She always wanted a picnic in the park. I hope one day we come here as a family. But for now, thank you for making this a special day for Gabriella.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Gabriella. Happy birthday to you. Have you heard anything? It's been a week. Does anyone know where they've taken her?
I don't know. No one will tell me anything. Her dad's been asking around, but she's disappeared again.
Mr. Ratcliffe, is it true what they're saying about Nazanin?
What are you talking about? What's going on?
Don't you know?
No, what? What is this? I don't understand.
They're accusing Nazanin of being a ringleader of a network they're planning to soft overthrow the Islamic Republic.
This doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Ratcliffe, did you know? Were you part of the group?
No, what? What are you talking about?
They're saying Nazanin was managing the group through her membership in foreign media companies, projects involving the media and social media. She is being accused of espionage.
What?
Do you have any comments at this time, Mr. Ratcliffe?
Well, I will say this. They say she is a spy. They say she is a leader of a global spy operation. Running a global spy operation with a 2-year-old in tow is beyond ludicrous.
Mr. Ratcliffe, were you aware that Nazanin has been moved to Evin Prison in Tehran to be placed in solitary confinement?
I was not.
Your family are here. We don't need to remind you. You're not to discuss your situation. You're not to pass a thing to your mother or daughter. They will be searched. And if we find anything, they will suffer accordingly. Is that clear? You are permitted to tell them that you're being held until the British government find an agreement.
What agreement?
You'll not be left alone, so don't try anything. Let's make this a happy visit, shall we?
Hello?
I saw her.
Naz.
I got to hold her.
Nazanin.
Richard, I saw Gabriella
When?
this afternoon. Oh, it's amazing. She's so grown up.
I know.
We got to sing and draw Peppa Pig.
That bloody pig.
And Mum was there. They let her give me a book. They're so kind. Letting me see them and talk to you.
Kind. I'm grateful they did, Naz. Naz, do you know what your father's talking about?
About what?
He said that we had to pressure the British government to make the agreement and you'd be released. What agreement?
I don't know. Oh, Richard, I'm so sorry for what I'm putting our family through.
Naz, don't be silly.
I'm not. This is all my fault. What it's doing to us, to Gabriella, to you.
Naz.
I'm doing Ramadan.
Is that wise?
Richard.
I just mean, are you strong enough?
I have to be. After everything, where else am I going to find the strength and the trust in here?
Naz?
I just don't see how this can get any worse. I'm so sorry, Richard.
On the 3rd of April 2016, my wife Nazanin Ratcliffe and my daughter Gabriella were taken from Tehran airport. They accused her of spying for the British government, which is ludicrous. She has been kept in solitary confinement and now has difficulty moving. It is of utmost importance for the British government to take action and bring my wife and my daughter home.
Look at him.
Look how tired he is.
Look how upset he is.
That's your fault. You're doing this to him.
How could you be so selfish to upset him so much?
And your daughter.
She was sobbing when she left you.
Broke her heart. You wouldn't go with her.
How could a mummy not love her enough, not want to spend time with her?
Imagine what you're missing.
You're not her mum anymore. How could you be when it's your mum who looks after her, teaches her, feeds her, sings her to sleep at night?
And where were you?
All we wanted was some cooperation. That's all we asked. It's not a lot. Do you not want to see your family again? You're the reason they're going through this.
Nazanin Ratcliffe has been indicted for sowing unrest. Despite officials in Iran suggesting they would accept an agreement with the British government, no such discussion has taken place, and it was later announced that she would be taken to court. Nazanin Ratcliffe has been imprisoned for over 100 days, and on her 100th day of detainment, we invited the Foreign Secretary to openly condemn Iran's actions after the Iranian guard admitted to holding a British mother and baby hostage. He chose not to. Along with Nazanin's indictment comes 3 other US citizen indictments. The US government have denounced their unjust detention and called for their immediate release. The British government have asked for more information.
Nazanin Zaghari's trial.
The 15th of August.
The Revolutionary Court.
Judge Salvatore residing.
Abbastal Dabari prosecuting. It happened on their wedding anniversary.
The hearing lasted 3 hours.
She met her lawyers a couple of days before.
The location of the court stayed secret.
Family were not allowed.
And the charges remained hidden.
There have been articles in the Iranian media accusing Thomson Reuters Foundation of infiltration projects, training journalists and promoting democracy around the world, and equating education with espionage. Ms. Zaghari, you worked for Thomson Reuters, did you not?
I do, but
Charges of espionage carry a minimum 10-year sentence.
Mrs. Zaghari, can you shed some light on why there have been over 100 newspaper articles on your story?
I cannot.
Proof of her guilt. Ms. Zaghari, were you not head at recruitment at BBC Farsi?
8 years ago, yes, but I worked for their charity department.
Mrs. Zaghari, that is enough.
I've had anguished requests from my in-laws, as well as suggestions from the Revolutionary Guards, asking me not to speak for the duration of her trial until she was charged. I was quiet for over a month while this nightmare started, whilst Nazanin was kept in such cruelty. I will be quiet again when Nazanin and Gabriella are back home, not before. And now we wait. Nazanin was allowed to call me, to tell me that the Revolutionary Court had sentenced her to 5 years imprisonment for secret reasons. What? 5 years? But why? Well, did they even say why? Well, how can you have a sentence without a crime? Nazanin was on holiday with a baby. She is a charity worker of educational projects. The accusations of espionage are ridiculous, even if no one inside can say it. She told me she had written me a goodbye letter. She could no longer go on. She had spent too long being strong. She was no longer angry, but tired. She had stopped praying, stopped believing there was another way out. She asked me to remember her love for me and to take good care of Gabriella. She could no longer take the endless waiting, waking up with hope and fear for Gabriella and her family. Hello?
Hello, Richard.
Naz, are you okay?
The food's terrible here.
But you are eating, right?
I can't use the left of my mouth.
Naz, you need to keep strong for me, please. We will get you out of there, I promise. But you need to stay strong for me.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Who is this?
My name is Sayyid. I'm the one looking after your wife. I hope we can get her back to you soon.
Don't we all? Thank you, Sayyid. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? Later that week, her family were asked to come in for a visit. Naz's mother passed out. Gabriella became hysterical. Nazanin had been on a hunger strike.
The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention have called on Iran to immediately release and compensate Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe.
I hate waking up.
We are now joined by a representative from the UN.
In my dreams, I'm with Gabriella. She's in my dreams every night.
Nazanin's case is a mockery of justice.
When I wake up, I remember where I am.
She has been denied a fair trial.
I miss her all the time.
We demand she's released immediately.
I have missed over a fifth of her life.
We have grave concerns over Nazanin's deteriorating health since her detainment and arrest, of which she has received no medical care.
Do you understand what it's like for a mother to be kept away from her child?
May we remind Iran, it is unacceptable to torture someone to obtain a confession.
What does that do to her?
It is a crime against humanity.
I am grateful that the UN has taken such a strong stand. Now that the UN Working Group has called for her release publicly, the morality of our situation is clear. It is time for the UK government to follow their lead. After 6 months of non-statements, it is time to speak plainly. Surely, if the UN can say it, why not the UK? Our government has never once criticised Iran's treatment of Nazanin. No UK political or official from the Foreign Office has ever publicly called for Nazanin's release. Why? The UN has gone further to publicly defend Nazanin than her own government.
My Lords of Parliament, Gabriella Ratcliffe is not being detained by Iran. She is there of her father's choice.
What? That's a lie.
So sorry, Mr. Ratcliffe. Slight mistake. We will correct the statement.
You said that 2 months ago when the statement was made to Parliament.
Not to worry.
And this agreement the Iranians keep talking about? They said you had to sign the agreement and then Nazanin would be released.
I'm afraid we've no idea what you're talking about. We've never asked for anything.
You are requested by the British government to stop lobbying for this dual national, Nazanin Radcliffe.
Stop calling her that! She's British, just like you and me. I have to pinch myself sometimes to remind myself that Gabriella and Nazanin are British. Perhaps they're not British enough for the government to care. Perhaps it's due to the government putting more effort into trade relations with Iran. Let's not let the mother and baby get in the way. Perhaps it's all of these. Or maybe something more sinister.
Richard Ratcliffe, husband of Nazanin Ratcliffe, is claiming she is being held because Britain is failing to pay an arms deal debt from almost 40 years ago. The Iranian deal with the UK for 1,500 Chieftain battle tanks and 250 repair vehicles costing $650 million. The monies were paid up front, but the deal was not complete. Since then, Tehran has been in a legal battle with the UK to get $400 million of its money back. However, to this date, this debt has not been repaid. Radcliffe, 41, an accountant, believes this is the reason why she and at least 3 other Britons are being held in Iran.
The government should pay up so my wife is no longer held hostage.
America had a similar situation with a failed arms deal. 4 American prisoners were released when America agreed to pay the debt. And now, we're being joined by a spokesperson from the Foreign Office.
We understand what a difficult time this is for the families. The Minister for the Middle East, Tobias Elwood, has met with the families personally to reassure them we are doing all we can to help.
This is why Nazanin is still being held. The UK government's reluctance to pay its debt. My family are held as collateral. The UK government chooses to keep Nazanin in prison. It chooses to keep the other UK citizens there also. It chooses to keep silent. They're all only dual nationals. The treatment of my wife brings the Iranian authorities shame. But they're not the only bad guys here. I accuse my government of not having my family's best interest at heart.
She fell asleep in my arms. For the first time in 8 months, I got to hold my daughter as she slept. The pain in my hands and my shoulders and my neck, they let me see a doctor. The anxiety, I suppose it's normal. At least I don't have to look at myself in the mirror. I don't want to know. You've discovered what they've been fighting about. Why do I have to be the victim? I just want to come home. Nothing is happening. I am sick of being used in these negotiations.
I guess the anger's a good sign. In truth, I'd wanted to postpone Christmas this year.
You can't cancel Christmas.
Not cancel it exactly, but postpone it until they're back.
Richard, think about this. We don't know when they'll be back. You can't think they'll be out before 2017. Not anymore. And I know having Christmas makes it obvious they're not here, but what would Nazanin want you to do? Sit at home, alone, moping? Or spending time with your family and remembering them?
But I promised her she'd be out by Christmas.
You promised her there'd be a chance. A chance. You couldn't have done anything more, Richard.
She put up a big tree, overflowing with presents. Presents for Nazanin and Gabriella among them.
I've bought Nazanin a bag. She loves handbags. And there's a Wendy house in there for Gabriella. I am not cancelling Christmas, and neither are you. But we're not forgetting them.
I just worry about her. If she's not out in time for Christmas, what she'll do, how she'll react.
Richard!
Christmas always was one of Nazanin's happiest discoveries of life in the UK. Everyone in good spirits, large family gatherings, similar to Iranian life, even with my mutterings of sometimes too much family. Nazanin,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Richard, I'm in a general women's ward for political prisoners.
What?
I've been moved from solitary. I'm not alone. There's other women here and we talk. I'm teaching them English. We read, tell stories. And there's a woman, a Nargis, she has twins, who she hasn't spoken to in a year and a half. She understands, and we talk about them and Gabriella. Richard, we can do this. We've got the appeal hearing coming up. I know we can get through this. Okay? Merry Christmas.
I love you. Turns out I'm glad Christmas came.
Nazanin Zaghari's appeal hearing, Wednesday, 4th of January, Court 54, the Revolutionary Court. Family and the public are not allowed to attend.
My appeal hearing lasted 3 hours, and it was heard by 3 judges.
Nazanin Zaghari, until we reach a decision regarding your appeal, you are under a no-contact order. You will not see nor speak with any members of your family.
I'm here to inform you, your appeal has been rejected.
Thank you for telling me.
I'm here to also inform you, a new conviction has been added, that you knowingly married a British spy.
Rich, a spy? Can I go back now? Unless there's something else.
No, that was it.
Well, then I'd like to go back to the ward, please.
Wait, I thought you were the spy. Now I'm the spy. This is ridiculous, ludicrous. But look, we had a plan. It didn't work. We need a new plan. I just don't know what it is yet. But don't worry, we'll get a new plan.
Richard, just talk to him.
I'm not interested, Becca.
But what if he's for real?
But what if he's not? What if he's just another weirdo?
He said he could get Nazanin out. He said he could bring them home. Are you really willing to risk that because he might be a weirdo? All it takes is for one of them to be telling the truth.
Fine. I'll speak to him.
Good evening, Mr. Ratcliffe.
Good evening. I'm afraid I don't know your name.
That's not important. What is important is I have connections with the judge in charge of your wife's case.
Excuse me?
And I have the potential to facilitate her release.
How?
I can liaise with my people in Iran, and if we do it quietly, I can get her released. If you sign a contract with me.
This is incredible. A contract?
To get your wife released, we have to pay the right people, you understand.
How much?
What is money to having your wife safe at home?
How much?
To get your wife released, 600 million tomorrow.
You want £125,000?
To save your wife.
The Free Nazanin campaign believes the claims from a recent individual claims he could have Nazanin Ratcliffe released for a sum to be someone looking to exploit the vulnerable situation of Nazanin's family, moved to look at desperate options following the inexplicable failure of her appeal. The claims he have made are untrue. This is a predatory attempt to exploit a suffering family.
Gabriella, my Gizu, my sweet daughter, forgive me for that first week of our separation, when neither of us knew what was happening and you were burning in fever as your way of protesting separation from your mother's bosom. Forgive me, for they took you away not just from your mother, but from your father too. How could I even imagine destiny would strike us separate so long? My sweet girl, the sound of your laughter has been ringing in my ears these past months, becoming one with me. Did they not hear the long nightly whimpers of a mother? Those who issued a guilty verdict and to achieve their ends accused me, reproached me, and locked me in solitary confinement. The past 10 months, I woke up every morning with the hope of returning home and holding you to my heart. I went to sleep every night with the dream of freedom in the morning. And still, there is a flame in me that fires every night with the hope of inhaling your warm breath, and fades every morning with the hope of seeing and embracing you. My darling, with every new tooth you grew, every new word you learned, every step you climbed without help, every centimetre you grew, and that day that you put on your dress by yourself, you ate your meal without help, learned your first poem, drew your first drawing, you learned colours in 2 languages, I was happy. But I also cried. I had missed days that would not return, and I was powerless as they went. My Gizu, forgive me for not being with you on your 2nd birthday, for not being granted a brief phone call. And one day I will tell you the story of all these lonely days, a story of pain and separation. And there will come a day when I will learn if strawberries and blueberries are still your favorite fruit, if orange is still your favorite color. Maybe they are no longer. And my Gizu, there will come a day when we will be together again and tenderly hold one another's loving hands. They can't take away from us our memories. They can't take our dreams for the future.
I'm afraid, Mrs. Zaghari, the pain you've been feeling is due to your neck vertebrae. They've moved out of place.
How?
Stress, poor exercise. Being kept in solitary confinement for 9 months seems to have done it. I'm giving you an emergency referral to see a neurologist.
Miss Zaghari, I'm requesting you get admitted to hospital immediately. Without urgent treatment, you're running the risk of permanent impairment.
I feel really sick. Please, can you help me?
Nazanin Zaghari has complained of worsening problems with her back and neck.
Pains down her spine.
Abrupt spasms in her neck and shoulders.
Severe insomnia.
Panic attacks.
Not being able to speak and blackouts.
Richard, a year has gone by since our embrace and kiss in London. A trip that didn't return us back home.
Our Gizu has grown taller, and she now understands very well that father and mother are not together. Father is in London, and mother is far away, living in a room where we have been visiting each other. The most painful part of this whole affair is that neither of us have witnessed our daughter grow up. Neither of us. Do you remember that I promised you that we would take the children and go and live in Tehran for a couple of years so they would learn more about the country in which I was born and raised? I take that back. Do you remember that I would insist on going to Iran every year to spend Nowruz? I will never ask you that again. Do you remember that every time I was planning a trip to Iran, I would try to convince your family to accompany us? I'm so, so sorry. This isn't what I was trying to teach about my country to you and your family.
The days of being apart still continue.
Many days during which I believed I would never see you again. Every day, every second, I would submerge more and more in an ocean of doubt, fear, threat, loneliness, and more than anything, mistrust. My life and dreams would fast forward in front of my eyes as if looking at a cinema screen. My wails would go unheard in that tiny, dingy, cold grey cell. And no one would see me scream for my 2-year-old daughter who was not in my arms. And I started dreaming of the day that plane lands in London and I see Gizu overjoyed to see you. In my dream, you kneel down with your arms open and she runs towards you enthusiastically and you embrace her. In the end, those dreams faded. It has been a year since I last saw you. And I don't know how much you've changed. How much does a person change in a year anyway? But hold my hands. Let us finish this chapter. We will overcome this pain. Today, freedom has got one day closer, and I will return once again to the city I love, and I will embrace you in my anguish. There is an alley inside that we yet haven't explored. A journey I haven't yet gone with you. Days and nights I haven't yet spent with you. Love poems I haven't yet shared.
Nazanin.
Ev in prison.
She is still waiting for hospitalization, but she didn't collapse this week, they say. Nazanin has been told by her fellow prisoners that after the first year, you begin to forget your life from before. Your life becomes the life inside. It's easier once you accept it. The hard part is the transition, accepting that contact slipping away. When again, she is not allowed to call me, when I have never been allowed to call her, but neither of us are ready to accept it just yet. So on our 1-year anniversary, we wrote notes of what we would do if we had one day of freedom, and we tied them with yellow ribbons to the tree.
My fondest dream has always been to arrive at our home, and then you ask me if I want to have a cup of tea, and then you make me one. And I just sit back and watch you two play. This was the image I had most when in solitary confinement. How I wish I could watch you both dance in the middle of our sitting room to the Michael Jackson music, like when Gabriella was tiny. I would wish for us to take the bus, C11, and go to the heath and feed the ducks first, and then walk up to Parliament Hill and see the whole town ahead of us freely. I would like us to take a trip to our local bookshop once a month and buy one book each. I want to stay up all night and watch you two sleep. I would like to put a huge paper on the wall of our sitting room and draw a world where there are no prisons, walls, or fences, and let Gabriella do the colouring. I want you to read and act the book I Love You to the Moon and Back to Gabriella and me. I would like for us to plan a trip to Southeast Asia, what we thought about doing back in 2012 in Myanmar when we saw that young family travelling around. I would like us to plant one tree to mark my freedom, and I would love to marry you again. The best thing that could ever happen to me.
In a closed panel review, the Supreme Court of Iran has rejected the second and final appeal of Nazanin's 5-year conviction. She's not been allowed to attend appeal, nor see a lawyer, nor know the charges against her. Richard Radcliffe has been told there are no more legal avenues available.
We've had a year. The legal process is finished. So I think the government needs to step up, find a way to visit her, and call for her release publicly. As her husband, I can say that Nazanin is innocent until I'm blue in the face. I've spent a year doing it, but it makes a clear difference that the government hasn't. It indulges the whispers.
We are pleased to announce that Gabriella Ratcliffe's passport has been returned to her grandparents, and the UK government are willing to offer temporary travel documents and arrange an embassy to personally ferry Gabriella home safely.
A prison interrogator said I could either agree to have Gabriella moved to the prison 3 nights a week or waive all my rights to see her. I am not going to have my daughter live in prison. I want to be home with her for her 3rd birthday. And when I think like this, and I realize that I can't do anything about it, I sob every night, every day. She keeps asking me why I can't go to Manami's house with her now. I have no answer to it.
Wait, what about Nazanin? Gabriella visiting her is her only relief. The few precious hours when she can hold her daughter. It's what keeps her going. I can't bring Gabriella home, not yet. If I did, Naz loses everything. And I can't do that to her, or Gabriella. She had a 1.5 years with her mummy. Then she had her whole life taken away, and now she's with her grandparents. And there's a way in which her grandmother has become a surrogate mum to her. So it's one thing to bring Gabriella and Nazanin back home together, and there's some sort of continuity. But to put that little girl twice for a situation where she loses her mum.
My darling Gabriella, my darling Gizu, you were born at 11 minutes past 7 in the evening on the 11th of June, 2014, London time, in a hospital north of the city after 55 hours of pain. And it was a pain that was worth every second for the reward of seeing your beautiful face. Did you know that you spent the first hour of your life in your father's arms? Did you know that you slept peacefully through the first 6 hours after your birth? It took us 2 days to finally take you home and show you to the whole world. Your father and I were the luckiest people in the world. And it was only after your birth, after we'd spent too long deciding when to have a child, that we realized just how we had been denying ourselves such beautiful years. I have sweet memories from the days we were together. You found peace in your father's arms as he sang you lullabies. From the very first days, you loved music and songs. But those sweet and beautiful days did not last long. Our trip to Tehran when you were 22 months was one of no return. The past 14 months, my share of you is only the occasional hour in the visiting room at Evin Prison. How young you are to be forced to go through such a horrible experience. And yet, you have grown. In spite of all our efforts, you've grown enough to know where I am. It is what you tell the other mothers in the park when they ask you where your mother is. In prison, you answer, as though it is normal. In the world of a 3-year-old, perhaps it is. My darling daughter, my darling Gizu, the word prison is bitter and suggests separation. But I promise you, the sad, somber days of our separation will be ended soon. You and I will hold our heads high. We will walk towards freedom with pride. The day will come when injustice will stop casting its shadow over our heads, and justice will emerge from behind the cold, dark clouds covering the skies of this city, and there will come a day when we will return to the city we love. My Gizu flower, happy 3rd birthday to you. This is the 2nd birthday away where your father and I are not there with you. We're not there to embrace you. But know that our hearts are with you. Happy 3rd birthday to you, the shining red apple of my life, my beautiful girl with the shining locks, my Gizu.